Hare Krishna. Welcome all for today's Sunday feast program. So as regular, we are going to chant the prayer, small prayer before we start. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari हरिनाम स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की
जय।
जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तश श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की
जय।
आनंद कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की
जय।
नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की
जय।
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की
जय।
श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन धाम की
जय।
वृंदावन धाम की
जय।
नवदीप धाम की
जय।
गंगा मैया की
जय।
यमुना मैया की
जय।
भक्ति देवी की
जय।
तुलसी देवी की
जय।
हरिनाम संकीर्तन की
जय।
समवेत भक्त वृंद की
जय।
गौर प्रेमानंदे
हरे
all glories to the assembled devotees
हरे कृष्ण
all glories to the assembled devotees
हरे कृष्ण
all glories to the assembled devotees
हरे
कृष्ण
all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Shri Gauranga Vishnu Prabhupada Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Hare Krishna. So today we are continuing our discussion on on Bhagavad Gita. We are in chapter 4 and we are at the very end of this chapter 4. Today we will discuss verse number 41 and 42. So what I will do, we will going to recite that verse and then we will discuss about them.
We have it up on the screen as well.
So we do line by line. So I'll do, then you follow me, and then we'll do the word for word translation. Yoga sanyasta karmanam
योगसन्न्यस्तकर्माणं
jnana sanchinna samshaya
ज्ञानसञ्चिन्न संशयम्
atmavantam na karmani
आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि
nibdhananti dhananjaya
निर्धनन्ति धनञ्जय
yoga sanyasta karmanam
योगसन्न्यस्तकर्माणं
jnana sanchinna samshaya
ज्ञानसञ्चिन्न संशयम्
आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि
आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि
निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय
निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय
योगसन्न्यस्तकर्माणं
योगसन्न्यस्तकर्माणं
ज्ञानसञ्चिन्न संशयम्
ज्ञानसञ्चिन्न संशयम्
आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि
आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि
निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय
निर्धनन्ति धनञ्जय
Few of you can decide.
Yogasanyasthakarmanam
योगसन्न्यस्तकर्माणां
Jnanasanchina samshayam
ज्ञानसञ्चिन्न संशयम्
Atmavantam na karmani
आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि
Nibadananti dhananjaya
निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय योगसन्न्यस्तकर्म
Yogasanyasthakarmanam
ज्ञानसञ्चिन्न संशयम् आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय योगसंशयतकर्माणां
Yogasanyasthakarmanam
ज्ञानसञ्चिन्न संशयम्
Jnanasanchina samshayam
आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि
Atmavantam na karmani
निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय
Nibbrananti dhananjaya
Mataji say. Anyone? Okay, so then we'll do one more translation. Yoga by devotional service in Karma Yoga. Sannyasa, sannyasta, one who has renounced karmanam, the fruits of actions. Jnana, by knowledge. Sanchinna, cut. Shamshayam, doubts. Atmavantam, situated in the self. Na, never. Karmani, works. Nibdhananti, do bind. Dhananja, or conqueror of righteous. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Abhay Charanaru Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound by the reactions of work or conqueror of the righteous. Report. One who follows the instructions of Bhagavad Gita as it is imparted by the Lord, the personality of Godhead Himself, becomes free from all doubts by the grace of transcendental knowledge. He, as a part and parcel of the Lord, in full Krishna consciousness, is already established in self-knowledge. As such, he is undoubtedly above bondage to action. So we'll do this verse second also. I'll read it and then. Tasmat ajnana sambhutam pratastham jnanasinatmana chitvenam samshayam yogam atishtot tishta bharava. So it's word for word translation. Tasmat, therefore, ajnana sambhutam, born of ignorance, hritistham, situated in the heart, jnana, of knowledge, asina, by the weapon, atmana, of the self, chitva, cutting off, enam, this, shamshayam, doubt, yogam, in yoga, atishta, be situated, uttishta, stand up to fight, bharat, O descendant of Bharat, Bharat. Therefore, translation, therefore the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed yoga of Bharat, stand and fight. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The yoga system instructed in this chapter is called Sanatan Yoga, or eternal activities performed by the living entity. The yoga has two divisions of sacrificial actions. One is called sacrifice of one's material possessions, another is called knowledge of the self, which is pure spiritual activity. If sacrifice of one's material possessions is not docile for spiritual realization, then such sacrifices becomes material. But one who performs such sacrifices with spiritual objective or in devotional service makes a perfect sacrifice. When we come to spiritual activities, we find that there are also divided into two. Namely, understanding of one's own self or one's constitutional position and the truth regarding Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who follows the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is can very easily understand these two important divisions of spiritual knowledge. For him, there is no difficulty in obtaining perfect knowledge of the self as part and parcel of the Lord. And such understanding is beneficial. For such a person can easily understand the transcendental activities of the Lord. In the beginning of this chapter, the transcendental activities of the Lord were discussed by the Supreme Lord Himself. And one who does not understand the instruction of Gita is faithless and is to be considered to be misusing the fragmental independence awarded to him by the Lord. In spite of such instructions, one does not understand the real nature of the Lord as eternal, blissful, all-knowing personality of Godhead is certainly fool number one. Ignorance can be removed by gradual acceptance of the principles of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness awakened by different types of sacrifices to the demigods. Sacrifice to Brahman, sacrifice in celibacy, in household life, in controlling the senses, in practicing mystic yoga, in penance, in foregoing material possession, in studying the Vedas, and in partaking a social institution called Varnashram Dharma. All of these are known as sacrifice, and all of them are based on regulated action. But within all these activities, the important factor is self-realization. One who seeks that objective is a real student of Bhagavad Gita, but one who doubts the authority of Krishna falls back. One is therefore advised to study Bhagavad Gita or any other scripture under a bona fide spiritual master with service and surrender. A bona fide spiritual master is in the disciplic succession from time eternal, and it does not deviate at all from the instructions of the Supreme Lord as they were imparted millions of years ago to the Sun God, from whom the instructions of Bhagavad Gita have come down to the earthly kingdom. One should therefore follow the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is expressed in the Gita itself, and beware of self-interested people after personal aggrandizement who deviate others from the actual path. The Lord is definitely the supreme person, and his activities are transcendental. One who understands this is liberated person from very beginning of his study of Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपाकारं ददाति स्वपदं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापद्गमनं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवंश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सहगणित श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नाम्ने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधर्मे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रियप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामाय गौरवक्षेमः पंचतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं महत्तरूपस्वरूपं महत्तवतां महत्तकं नमामि भक्तशक्तिं। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपीकांत राधा कांतानुसुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्ति। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। So this chapter, the fourth chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, named Transcendental Knowledge. So, before that, the chapter was Karma Yoga. So, if you remember, if you follow in the chapter 3, at the end of the chapter 3, Krishna explains that lust covers the knowledge. There are various places that how lust covers your knowledge. And because our knowledge being covered, so because of that knowledge covered, we are fallen into ignorance, and that ignorance binds us into this material world. So there, Krishna explains that how to revive this knowledge. Because we are in ignorance, because of the lust, because of our material desires, that is covered in our transcendental knowledge. So how to revive that knowledge? So one method is Karma Yoga. That Krishna explains that through Karma Yoga, how you can actually revive your knowledge, right? Transcendental knowledge. And then he is explaining that there are two types of Karma Yoga. One is called Sakama Karma Yoga, and one is called Nishkama Karma Yoga. So we have discussed that previously. So Sakama Karma Yoga is where you are looking for output, some result out of the karma. But Nishkam Karma is like where you do not want any result, you are giving the result of your activities. So this is what Krishna explains is that this glorifies transcendental knowledge, which basically take you from Sakam Karma Yoga to Nishkam Karma Yoga. And also it will give you intelligence so that you can overcome your lusty desires. As a living entity, we all have this desire of enjoying the material nature. So that is like lusty desire that will be overcome when we get this transcendental knowledge. And also transcendental knowledge brings us from the mode of ignorance and passion to the mode of goodness. That will elevate us there. So Krishna glorifies this transcendental knowledge, and then when he started the chapter 4. So initial section of chapter 4, which is transcendental knowledge from text number 1 to 10. Krishna explained that how this transcendental knowledge come to us. Evam parampara praptam rajasya vindu. So like Krishna is explaining that this transcendental knowledge coming to us in a parampara system. So Krishna mentioned that first I give this knowledge to Sun God. Millions of years ago, I gave this knowledge to Sun God, and from Sun God he gave it to his son Manu, Vavasvat Manu. And from Manu he gave it to his son Ikshvaku. And then in that parampara it was coming down. But at the time when this war was happening in Kurukshetra, so Krishna said that looks like this knowledge is disappeared now because of this. Because over a period of time, the knowledge gets destroyed. So he's saying that I'm establishing the knowledge and making Arjuna as the starting parampara. He's starting new parampara with Arjuna and he's giving the knowledge to Arjuna. So there he explains about himself. That he talks about whenever there is a decline in religious principle, and when there is predominant rise of a religion, to protect the devotees, to annihilate the demons, that he comes again and again in this, and when he comes, he doesn't take birth like you and me. When he comes, he takes birth which is transcendental, divine. Janma Karam Chamedevyam. So he explained that in the first section there. And then after that, in the next section from text 11 to 15, he explains how to apply this transcendental knowledge. Means Krishna is saying that when I come from spiritual world to material world, I am not being bound by these activities. Even Krishna comes and he does all these activities, but he is not bound by those activities. Namam karmani limpati name karmalespara. Iti mam yogi janati karm bhinna sabhadyate. So he explained that how that when I come, I do activity, I not get bound by this activity, but other people get bound because they are in ignorance. And then he said that how to apply this this transcendental knowledge, and then he explains that how to do karma by applying transcendental knowledge. Like we have to understand difference between karma, vikarma and akarma. So when we understand that akarma is the best that we have to do by understanding transcendental knowledge, so we'll do akarma to get free from all the activities. So that's basically based on the jnana, like what Krishna explains. And then later Krishna explains that various kind of sacrifices, which are basically performed to get this transcendental knowledge. And then ultimately concluded is that like where we are right now, in the last section of this chapter, where Krishna is explaining that once if you apply this knowledge, I'll read the translation again. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus he is not bound by the reactions of the world. So how to get free from the karma bandhana or this bondage of karma is through this transcendental knowledge Krishna is explaining here. And in the 42nd finally says that therefore the doubt which has arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. So here two terms Krishna used, the doubt and the knowledge. So generally we see doubt. If you look at the dictionary, like meaning of doubt is like say that a feeling of uncertainty. We know like sometimes we follow process or do something, but we are not sure what's going to happen next. Is it I'm going to be successful or not successful, or what's going to happen? It might be some problem. What's going to? So we are not well aware of that process. So we are not certain, and also our lack of conviction. So it creates a doubt. And Bhagavad Gita explains that doubt is because of ignorance, avidya. And that avidya is basically with us. And that avidya is because we deviated from the service of Krishna. So when living entity deviated from the service of Krishna and decided not to serve Krishna, then Maya's, this avidya part covers us. And then we are coming to ignorance. Now the process is go back again to get this knowledge is to uncover this avidya, to uncover this ignorance, and that process is basically Krishna is explaining you. So generally like this we have doubt that this word Krishna is using here, and with that knowledge, when we apply the knowledge, then we get a faith, we develop faith. So just if I go 2 weeks towards back, Gokulan Prabhu explained very nicely last week. So if you go back here, Krishna says in 38 and 39, here in the 39 he says that a faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. So even in material world, like we have whatever we do, we have some kind of faith. So if you go to like grocery shopping, go to Whole Foods or like some other places, and you see this organic product, right? Like you see it's organic or vegan or whatever. Like we have faith that when they are saying organic, it's organic, right? Or it's vegan. Like we take with that faith. So we have faith. Faith is everywhere with us. Like we have faith, like kind of thing. So it's our part of our life. But when we start getting doubts, similarly we have faith on our spiritual process also. But doubt is basically comes when we have we are not sure about the result of the process. So initially, generally we can say faith is like two phases. One is the initial faith, one is a very strong faith. So initial faith, when what we get through different means. Srila Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha explained there are two types of faith. One is called Jat Parampara Shraddha. Jat Parampara Shraddha means if somebody born in a Hindu family, or somebody born in a Christian family or a Muslim family or anything. So in their family there is some tradition they are following, right? So if a child born in that family, automatically he will develop some faith on the tradition what that family is following. So I know in my childhood my parents used to perform certain rituals. I don't know what is the meaning is, but I develop faith on that this I have to do. But what's happening is that there are so many rituals for there. I don't know if you follow any Indian wedding. If you follow you attend Indian wedding, there are so many rituals for 3-4 days. They keep doing one after another, this thing, that thing. Now this ceremony is there, that ceremony is there. But most of the people don't even know what they are doing. They're just following. They're just doing because their ancestors were doing, and they are being told to do that without being understanding what is the meaning of this each and every ritual out there. But that shraddha or that faith can be deviated very easily if somebody give you some interpretation of something, right? So that initial faith, even that initial faith is good for coming to any process, but a person with that initial faith cannot stay longer within the process. So then Jiva Goswami explained that then the second faith is called Swabhaviki, or the faith based on Shastra. So when we basically discuss Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, all this, and we study that, and after studying these scriptures, when we develop faith, right? When we hear the scriptures, then what happens is like constant hearing. Like say if you start Bhagavad Gita, the very first instruction Bhagavad Gita comes that we are not the body. We are spirit soul. Practically realization is very difficult at that time, but we constantly hear that. And when we hear, we start doing contemplating on that subject. That is called mananam. We are always thinking about that. Oh, we are not the body, we are the soul. We are not the body, we are the soul. When we do that, then practically we might realize or not at the time, but we start getting faith. Okay, this is the correct knowledge. I have to go further than that. And then we start developing faith on that when we keep moving in that process. So that faith becomes stronger and stronger. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's mentioned that Shraddha Shabde Vishwash Kahe Sudhada Nishchaya Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krat Kaya. So here is mentioned that Shraddha Shabde Vishwash Kahe Sudhada Nishchaya means strong faith. This Shraddha is called strong faith. And what is that strong faith is that just by performing devotional service, just by performing bhakti to Krishna, all activities are being done. Means there is no other thing I have to do. It says Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krathaya. All of the activity what we are doing, they are being done by accomplished just by doing Krishna Bhakti. This is Shraddha in Bhakti. But this is strong faith. Like when somebody start coming to in the Krishna conscious movement initially, that faith is not there. But when we study scriptures, when we hear from the devotees, from Srila Prabhupada, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, we will study that, then slowly we develop that faith. And then that becomes like Shraddha. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that this is Shraddha is needed for performance of bhakti. In chapter 2, in verse number 41, Krishna says, Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi Ekeha Guru Nandana Bhaushaka Hiyantascha Buddhayo Vyavasayina. The translation is, those who are on the path are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Gurus, the intention of those who are irresolute is many branched. So to move progress in bhakti, this Shraddha is very important. This devotion is very important, and this Shraddha will get it by knowledge. That's what Krishna is saying here. Again, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. And that's why, like here, Krishna is saying, so Arjuna, stand up and fight. So by this, what Krishna is saying that Arjuna's doubt should be cleared by this time right now. What Krishna is saying, stand up and fight. No more further questions. It's done, right? But Arjuna still have a doubt. He's still like there more things are coming. So here, that Srila Prabhupada clears in the process. So is doubting, like when we are on the path of like anything, like say, suppose if you are studying in a college, we are studying in going for some degree or some other processes. So when we get a doubt, what we do? Is doubt really a bad thing? So here, Srila Prabhupada, I will give one quote from Srila Prabhupada, what he talks about doubt. He's saying that doubt is good. Doubt is not bad. Doubt is good provided if you make progress. Doubt should not become your obstacle in your process, right? So Prabhupada is saying that doubt is good provided if you make progress. But if you stick to the own principle and doubt that is not good. When there is a doubt, what should we do? Like Prabhupada is saying, when you have a doubt, you should go to a person who can mitigate the doubt and explain. So having doubt is not a problem, because asking questions is not a problem, but we need to go to a person to whom we can reveal our doubt and he can explain clear our doubt. But if you stick to your own understanding, Prabhupada is saying if you stick to your own understanding, traditions, then doubt is not very beneficial. You don't want to change yourself, but you have doubt. You are holding that position. that I have doubt and this is what I feel is correct. So that process, this doubt is a big obstacle in progress. Right? So as soon as there is a doubt, you go to a person who can explain about your doubt. That is a formula. And Krishna explains that in same chapter here. In just few verses before, if you few verses before in the same chapter, Krishna explained that when you have a doubt or when you want to understand something, where to go. Tadividhi pade patena pariprashnena sevaya ubdekshanti te jnanam jnane tattva darshina. So here there Krishna is saying that whenever you want to get some knowledge, you should approach a bona fide spiritual master. And what is the process of approaching? You should first surrender. And same thing Arjuna already did that. In the second chapter, before approaching Krishna, what Arjuna did? Karpanya dosho pahasabhava. Prachami kamsam dharma samudha cheta. So he said that in verse number 7 in chapter number 2, he said, now I am confused. Arjuna already said, now I am confused because he got the doubt whether this what I am fighting is correct or not fighting correct. He got confused. So I am now confused about my duty and I have lost all composure because of miserly weakness, which is in the heart. Weakness of heart. That's what Krishna says in the translation here. I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple. Shishyasteham shadimam tam prapanna. I am your disciple. So this is the way we have to approach a spiritual master. We should surrender and submit ourselves as an ignorant fool. We should not go to spiritual master saying that, oh, I have a lot of knowledge. So you just explain this one part, then I'm okay. Our first prayer that we offer is Om Ajnana Timiradasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmita Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. So Guru is one, our spiritual master is one who actually opens our eyes, which are covered by this dark ignorance, because we are born in the ignorance. So he opens our eyes with Jnana Chakshu, this knowledge, this transcendental knowledge. That's what he is. So now if we go through some of the important points from the purport of Srila Prabhupada. So here Srila Prabhupada says that the yoga system instructed in this chapter is called Sanatan Yoga. Sanatan is basically means eternal. It's not temporary. This yoga system, what Krishna is explaining in chapter 8, is eternal. Is beyond this material world. Is beyond this material world. Is coming directly from Krishna, from the spiritual world. He is explaining this yoga system here. And he said that Srila said that this yoga have two divisions of sacrificial actions. One is called sacrifice of one's material possession, and the other is called knowledge of the self. Means one is tyaga. We have in this material world we have a lot of material possessions, like we have home, car, family, money. So many things are there, right? But if you use that in Krishna's service, that is the right way of using that material possession, and with that we will get transcendental knowledge. If we give up those things in the service of Krishna. And the second part here is Atma Jnana or self-realization. We will be able to understand that we are not the body, we are the spirit soul. But if you are doing this sacrifice, again later he says that if sacrifice of one's material possession is not dovetailed for spiritual realization, means if we sacrifice our material things but not for spiritual progress, rather we want some material gain out of that, then this sacrifice becomes material. When then our transcendent knowledge will not get it because we are only interested in the material benefit. And then later Prabhupada said that when we come to spiritual activity, we find that these are also divided into two, namely understanding of one's own self and truth regarding Supreme Personality of Godhead. So up till now, in the second chapter, Krishna has given confidential knowledge. What is that confidential knowledge? That we are not the body, we are the spirit soul. In around 20 verses, Krishna explained that. Then in the fourth chapter here, Krishna is giving only few details about himself. But later, in the seventh chapter, starting the seventh chapter name is Knowledge of the Absolute. There Krishna will give more detail about himself. So there Krishna is saying that because one knowledge is about self, about ourself, like about we are not the body, we are the soul, and how to realize that I am eternal soul. And second knowledge is like about Krishna. This is what Prabhupada said, that there are two sections of knowledge. So further knowledge about Krishna will be given in the 7th chapter, where Krishna says that Maya Sakt Manapata Yogam Yunjan Madashraya Asamshayam Samagram Yatha Gyashashi Tapshunu. So there Krishna is saying this, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. There the word again comes doubt. Because up till now, up to 6th chapter, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained that the process is what Krishna explained in up to 6th chapter. If anyone take those processes, there is a doubt that he might be successful, might not be successful. But here, in the 7th chapter, when Krishna explained that if you understand this knowledge, your all doubts will be cleared completely. Asamshayam samagram. You will understand Krishna completely without any doubt, because 7th chapter starts Bhakti Yoga process. Shall we say that Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 sections. Chapter 1 to 6 is related to karma, and mostly yoga processes are mentioned there. Chapter 7 to 12 is Bhakti Yoga, and the last 6 chapters are Jnana Yoga. So this Bhakti Yoga is the most confidential part. Like we see in the 9th chapter, Krishna says, Raj Vidya Raj Guhyam Pavitram Tamam. That is the most confidential knowledge. That's what Krishna is going to explain further when we go to 7th chapter. He is going to give knowledge about himself. So then, because time is over, I will go to the final conclusion there, which basically Krishna says. So what is the benefit of this transcendental knowledge? So Krishna is saying that the benefit of this transcendental knowledge is that you will free from all the doubts, and you will free from all the reaction of our actions. And ultimately, you will be able to come to me if you basically proceed this transcendental knowledge. Okay, so now I'll stop here because this time is for the is there, you can take one question?
I don't think we can take it because the RP.
Okay, sure.
is 6:15.
So if anyone has any question, you can contact me after the. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravarni Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishatarine Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya.
So if you're available, you'd like to come, 10:30 tomorrow morning, here at the temple for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj. It was in 1922, 100 years ago, that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj gave Srila Prabhupada the instruction to come west. And it was from 1922 to 1965 that Srila Prabhupada, he had almost 40 years in between to try to understand this order and try to make it happen. But this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, the spreading of Krishna consciousness throughout the world, it actually began on that particular day, in that particular order. So tomorrow we come together to celebrate the life of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. If you're unable to join us, we will show it on our YouTube channel. So if you're at work or at home, you can watch that. But we have prasadam to distribute outside there. We ask that everybody please take one. If you want to take extra, we just ask that you wait till everybody gets something first. So, if you want to take it for lunch and dinner or for family members at home, we just want to make sure that everybody that has come, everybody gets something. So I think there's enough for everybody. And usually Krishna always arranges it in that way. We just want to make sure of that. Last thing is, this whole month we're preparing for Gaur Purnima. This is the Transcendental Appearance Day of the Supreme Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give a special gift, and that gift is, what is it? Harinam Sankirtan. So over this next month, we're going to be focusing on this particular aspect of Krishna consciousness, very important aspect of Krishna consciousness. There'll be time to do the darshan here in just a second. The temple will be open for another half hour. I just want to make sure everybody hears this. So on Sundays for the next until Gaur Purnima, we're going to focus on our classes. Instead of Bhagavad Gita, we're going to go to the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, so we get a chance to immerse ourselves and learn more about the Golden Avatar, the Yuga Avatar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then we're also going to have more kirtans in the temple. So we're having a 6-hour kirtan on Sunday, March 13th, starting at 12 o'clock, and we'll go through the Sunday feast. Gaur Purnima, that actual day, is on March 17th, it's a Thursday. And then March 19th, 2 days later, on Saturday, we're going to go out. Maybe we'll decide the location yet, maybe multiple locations. But we're going to go out and do kirtan on the streets. So it's a very, very wonderful activity, very joyous. To be able to see the joy in somebody else's eyes when they hear the holy name and they're just walking down the street thinking, okay, I got this problem. I got to go home and I got to pay the bills. I got to do this. I got to, families in disarray, and I got this. I got to make a car payment. Whatever's going on inside people's mind, I got to think, where am I going to go to eat? And then all of a sudden, they're just walking in and they hear this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And all of a sudden, it's like their lives have just been like redirected. Their compass was going in one direction, and all of a sudden, like now it's like going to Krishna. And they don't even know it. But the holy name, just like any type of sound, if you're asleep and the alarm clock goes off, and you think, okay, it's time to wake up. When people hear the holy name, there's a part of them, depending on where they are and how spiritually they're there, but the part of them begins to wake up to the reality about this world and how Krishna has come to save us from the problems of this world. So we ask you to please mark that on your calendar. More information will come. But March 13th is a Sunday here in the temple room. 12 o'clock start. March 17th, Thursday night. 6 o'clock start. Actually, I think it's a 5 o'clock start. And then 2 o'clock on Saturday, the 19th, March 19th, out of Rittenhouse Square to do Harinam Sankirtan to the Lord. Okay, it's great to see everybody. Please, everyone, stay safe. Very encouraging. I know as the months or as the weeks go on, we're going to see more and more of a crowd come back. But please tell your friends and family, fellow devotees, that the temple is back open unless they've been here. And great to see everyone. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Anybody has? Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki.